How's life?
Good, yeah, good. Um, yeah, doing a lot of stuff on automation at the moment. Um, and it's been interesting. I kind of going in kind of technical directions rather than process directions lately. But kind of coming back up now to look at process stuff, breaking down
Hmm.
big work into small work, usual stuff. Back to the quarry.
Automation, automation AI related or just automation?
Bit of both. It's it's like I think it's all there's a strong connection between looking at measurements, um, asking if the data is good, um, going back to the data to see where the problems are, using automation to fix some of the problems, having a discussion about the automation rules that you've done. People realize, oh, we can do that with automation, and they suggest things that push the limits of what we can do. You investigate, you learn more, you try again, you come back. So it's like an iterative process based on, kind of data goal setting and using the tools we have to try and automate as much as we can. It's kind of fun. I think there's something I'll write soon about automation patterns and
Hmm.
um, maybe there's one topic for today, and it's a question that has an it depends answer, so it might be relevant. Um, how do I reduce the noise, and how do I know what to focus on? How do I know what to give my attention and focus to?
Hmm.
And how do I help others do that? Um, but there's a conversation I had yesterday that's on my mind, and it's related to all this automation stuff. And well, two conversations. So first of all, we were talking about um, a build that was already being done and would have been very useful to a particular group in a particular context, but they just weren't aware of it. And we talked about, oh, we need to just maybe raise awareness of that. And in the context of the conversation, we talked about, oh, those build notifications. I'm pretty sure they go to a channel, you know, but have you ever been in a channel that gets automated build notifications? I have. I stopped paying attention to it very quickly. So the the other conversation I was in was the phrase was used, and it's kind of stuck in my mind. It was only yesterday, but I think it's relevant to a lot of the work I'm doing at the moment. And it was is as part of that conversation that it came up. Someone said there's a signal to noise ratio, and how do we, reduce the noise and make sure we're giving signals. Like
Hmm.
there's a phrase in journalism, burying the lead. It's like, at a stand up, um, oh, I've written 27 lines of code and 24 unit tests today, and I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes writing. There's 27 more unit tests that I think I can get done. I'm going to do a little bit of Copilot stuff. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be off for the next 2 weeks. That's burying the lead. Um, and when you're in contexts where there's a lot of noise, you can miss important signals. And we're in an attention economy. We're in a dramatic attention economy as well. So there's many, many, many things, not just in work, right? Outside of work, competing for our attention, competing for our focus. So how do we help improve the signal to noise ratio? How do we help reduce the noise and sharpen the focus on the signals? That's my question.
I think that's super challenging subject. I even think that some time ago I had a conversation where when I was trying to explain what I'm actually getting paid for. And this idea came through my mind when I was explaining or having a conversation that actually it's this thing that maybe when I come to I join a company, I join a team of teams, I quickly discover 10,000 things that work perfectly fine and 10,000 things that don't work well. All right, maybe not 10,000, but I can quickly make a list. And from that list, what I'm being paid for is to advise what are the top priority things. Because usually it's like, to some degree, everyone knows what doesn't work. But is this the thing that should be fixed right now? Is this the most important thing? I think I help to prioritize, and then how I'm doing that, I don't know. I think it's a mixture of experience and politics, in a sense of talking to stakeholders and trying to understand where are the places where I'm expected to focus on things. It's like I need to be doing that, even if some part of me thinks that that's not the most important issue right now, but I need to do that because I need to gain political capital or whatever. And there's some part of just experience of being in some situations a few times, many times, and seeing some patterns. And somehow I feel that's not a great answer. Like maybe there is some good knowledge out there how to minimize the noise ratio to the signal ratio. If you
Well,
read about it, tell me more.
I mean, I'll bring it right down to earth with a really, really sort of basic example. Email. Um, Email alerts in when I was a developer were really popular, right? And if you work with your typical work management tools, right, you'll probably get a lot of emails when someone mentions you or puts a comment on a thing you've created or whatever, and suddenly you have 100 emails from Jira today. I have automatic rules that send those to a folder, and maybe I'll read them, maybe I won't, but I'll do it on my own time, not one by one as they come in. I don't know if everybody does that. Like, that reduces the noise for me. And if you apply that pattern to every automatic email notification that comes into your inbox, it actually reduces the noise quite a bit, and I don't worry so much about the unread emails in those folders because they're not real email. I'll read them, they're fine. But like, I have other systems that people can also contact me on. Uh, if I'm working in Jira, I can click on the little bell, scan through the issues that are being updated, and choose the ones that are most important to me to look at. And I have to do that to prioritize, right? But yeah, I was saying that that's a pattern where the pattern is you, one by one, let's say automated notifications come in from Jira, boom, set up a rule, move them to a folder. They come in from Confluence, do the same thing. They come in from Workday, do the same thing. They come in from Bebop or whatever your work systems are, right?
Yeah.
There's 100 in every corporate job. So when I start a new job, it's one of the first things I do: send all the automatic notifications into folders. And therefore, the email that comes into my inbox is from real people. And that's what reduces the noise to signal ratio for me there. So that's a simple example, but the pattern and the principle, I think, is the same. in other contexts, how do you do that? Like in Teams or your messaging system of choice, where there's various ways to capture your attention. You know,
Yeah.
we have a meeting. We talk in the meeting. During the meeting, there's a back channel. So someone's talking to me about what's happening in the meeting. After the meeting, there's a meeting chat. There's a conversation that persists from the meeting. And there's also a meeting agenda that people are writing notes in and updating. And there's actions coming out of the meeting managed somewhere else. This is all noise, right? There's so much noise around one conversation. How, like, I think there are ways to minimize that stuff. I think there are ways to make life easier for ourselves. And I know it's compelling, energizing, addictive to have 27 red lights going on your desktop telling you you're wanted for something. It's really addictive. The little endorphin rush, notifications, ping, 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 ping. Oh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. But it's not effective. It's noise. And I think I'm thinking about it a lot. Thinking about it a lot. I'm in a context where I've ramped up in a new job over the last few months, and my ability to have my own time in the first couple of months was, newfounded again and just great. Like I wasn't fully booked or overbooked yet.
Mm.
Now I'm 6 months in, it's kind of getting to that point, the normal point. The norm for most people in corporate life is like just about hanging in there, right? So I'm looking at, well, how can I reduce noise that I'm experiencing and how can I do it for other people as well? So I'll give another couple of examples. PI planning is quarterly or big room planning, right? And everybody knows that with that event, there's 100 links all over the place. There's calendars, there's invitations, there's agendas, there's guidance, there's changes to process, there's PowerPoint text, there's 100 kinds of everything. How do you keep track of it all? And I know as someone who organizes the stuff, it's really painful, right? It's painful to create the stuff, to maintain it. And I just feel like, is there noise there? Could we reduce it? Could we just have one page, one big page, or one whiteboard? Like, how do we make it less noisy and say like it's only this one link. This is all. Just start. This is the hub. Bookmark this. Everything else goes there. You know. Is
I
that
think
is
that
that making sense?
it makes a lot of sense, and that goes in my head into the category of knowledge management.
Mm.
And I know that in my organization, usually when people, it's just a very recent example when new unit leadership team was discussing exactly this. Like we have a lot of different artifacts. Some people are creating PowerPoint, some people are using Miro, some people do SharePoint pages, and other people say they need whatever. And the question was, so how all of this information should be structured? Like how do we make sure that we follow something that is optimal in the sense of we can agree on what do we do, but at the same time, how to make sure that what we agree on is optimal. Like someone needs to know the tools, but also the theory, why to do those tools in that way, how to organize it. I know that I point everyone in the direction of some people who are knowledge management experts, and they can help people with structuring this information and knowing why it should be structured this way or what is the current way of structuring things, and also what how to use certain tools to do that. what's the newest on the SharePoint, or what's the newest on Miro, and so on. So in my head, that goes into the knowledge management category. And then maybe we could have a knowledge management related conversation. But for this one, I just feel I'm not an expert. Like I would need to, I know where to point people to, but I usually don't go there on my own. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's maybe it's my instincts as a former developer that the tools thing always sort of hooks me. I always kind of get into the tools. I always, try and find out what's possible with the tools. And I, even though I know it's not the highest value thing to do, right? It's just what I gravitate towards. I can't help it. But I think it's interesting to think about what we do and how much of what we transmit is signal versus noise as well, because I'm talking about process changes a lot, and I'm asking people to do things a lot, and I'm sharing demos of things like here's my explanation in a video of the process change, watch this, or here's a text explanation of 3 things that you need to do prior to the next meeting, like make sure your risks are up to date, and here's the kind of update we want, and here's how to write a PI objective, and here's how these are crafted, And to the people receiving these messages, if you look back in the channel, it's just one after another, like text heavy, like links, so much information, like really, really. And to me, it's like, I'm really familiar with this stuff because I've been working in this area for a while. But I read back over some of the messages from a week ago and I go, oh God, like quite a lot of words in that. And like there's 3 calls to action and 2 links, Like what am I asking people to do? Am I asking people to do all 5 of these things? So that's what I'm thinking about, is how can I be more intentional in communicating so that the message is easier to digest, and not just the one message, but the 20 messages that I send every quarter, and again, just one example. There's a thing in I think it's Microsoft technology, but it's called adaptive cards that I've been playing with for the last week or 2. And it's like a panel that's structured with buttons, tables, icons, headings. So you could put like a warning icon and say like, this is important, bum, 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 structured a certain way, or an info icon structured a certain way, and start setting up patterns to those kind of information rich messages that I was saying, And if you're a scrum master or a product owner or an architect or a product manager in that channel, you're going to get used to the info warning pattern and go, warning, okay, maybe I should read this one. Info, maybe now, maybe later. But like what I was saying about the inbox emails, like it's the signal to noise, help me distinguish,
Yeah.
So either I have to read a big long paragraph of information with bullet points and links, and I don't know what the call to action is, or I have a visual cue each time, that I can, much like the email coming from Jira, -Jira, it's an automated update, so you can filter it into a different place. Like it's the same kind of pattern, I think, just a different way of implementing it.
I think 2 things One is the first observation that you said. You don't know if that's important, but you gravitate towards the tools. Even, and we started with how do we make sure we work on the most important things. So that's the nice paradox. But another thing is, I on the things like you were describing, I have an experience of people not paying attention to anything, what is being sent, because very often they expect that either they will be poked personally that, hey, you need to prepare this or that before, or their expectation is that it will be explained during the day. So tell me what I need to bring, what I need to prepare, or otherwise I'll just be there and you will have to tell me step by step what am I doing, because that's what I expect. And then I think yes, it's very easy to over communicate. At the same time, they say that you should be over communicating. In my experience, if you over communicate, people will very quickly stop paying attention to what's going on. But I like poke people personally. In the office, go talk to them. In the email or Teams or whatever, write to them, or find a way to use the hierarchy to communicate. Like, maybe it's enough to poke a Scrum Master for each team and make it clear that I expect that they will communicate what is expected of everyone, or whatever is, the hierarchy in the company. Yeah,
I think you're right, and so make it think of who the message is for. Is it, if I send this to a channel and say everybody, is that appropriate? Often it's not. Like you kind of need to talk to individuals, and sometimes in the roles we have, that can be time consuming. And so there's a temptation to put a message into a group instead of talking to people individually, recognizing situationally which option is better. You've got to figure that out, right? But it's important to use the personal approach balanced with the send to all approach. I mean, if you stop using the personal approach, I think you'll run into commitment issues.
yeah.
to use a bad phrase, But yeah, I think it is knowledge management. I think it's also communication strategies as well. So like I'm starting to think. So I'm thinking about automation, and I'm starting to think about what are every time the team goes from the end of one sprint to another, would I like to send a message to everybody to just say, hey, watch out for one or two things, And is that going to change a lot? Probably not, right? It's going to be relatively like, hey, just a reminder. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That could be automated, that could go to everybody. It's not really a personal thing. So, it's those things. Whereas if I want to get feedback from everyone on the effectiveness of something that's new, I'll talk to people or pairs or threes, rather than send an email to everybody and, maybe not get any response. No, it's an interesting subject. I think more and more the kind of patterns of automation that I'm looking at, they have this factor involved, like no, we don't need to worry about that. So like I'll just get really specific for a second. So there's a sonar system running analysis over repos. People are manually observing and watching, creating security related issues in a Jira project. when they analyze them to a certain point in a workflow, that prompts them to create another ticket in a different project for a different team. So they've come to me and said, hey, can we automate the bit where we create the second ticket? I'm like, yeah, of course you can. How are the first tickets getting created? They're like, oh, no, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. And I'm like, well, we could. So like I know that's prioritization, right? So to them that's noise until this thing is done. And it's a weak signal, you know? So when there's a lot of noise, it's hard to see the weaker signals.
Yeah.
This is why I think I'm going to write something on it, because I don't know, I'm seeing the pattern.
And I know that Snowden is keen on talking about the weak signals and how to spot them. His favorite gorilla example. I bet he has some blog posts related to that.
Yeah.
And the next thing is endless logs. I see huge potential for AI analysis. Because actually no one is, in my experience. I just, like a month ago, we had a incident management workshop with some key stakeholders because of that there was a huge log list with a lot of different errors, and someone wrote to someone that, hey, this one is quite important, and it was one of the 100 of small issues. And it turned out that this one issue is turned into a really big issue on the customer side. And everyone was like, yeah, but we've been talking about it for 2 weeks that it's an issue. But actually, so many things are small issues that just no one paid attention. No one thought that it's going to explode, that it is going to cause so much trouble on the customer end, and customer will escalate and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a really good example.
One thing is, yes, it was in the logs. Another thing is, yes, it was even noticed that it's in the logs, and even someone wrote an email to someone. It's just that there is so much noise in general that no one thought it's important.
Yeah. So it's like, what are the strategies that help reduce the noise? Tangible things you can do. And then how do you help amplify the signals that need the amplification? Yeah.
Good
Isn't
subject.
that Snowden thing amplification and dampening? Is that what he talks about?
Yes. I'm
okay.
not sure if in that context, but that's what he's talking about.
Okay.
I think
I'll have a look. Yeah.
Check him. I'll book Nas, and let's do part 2. That will maybe turn into part 1.
Season 2.
Yeah. Let's see.